Hello and welcome to another MSC Performance Podcast. Firstly, Happy New Year to all you listeners. This is Season 5, Episode 1. So we hope to start off the new year with a banging podcast. This is the first one, definitely the first one. For all you listeners, we did just record a 40-minute podcast, but we were muted the whole time. So
it was the best podcast we've ever done. Literally 40 minutes of absolute glorious content and banter, and realised at the end that we didn't record any sound with it. Yeah. So we're going to try and replicate word for word exactly what we said.
Yes.
Earlier.
So I have a list of the jokes that I need to make.
There's quite a few, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah, leave a couple out actually.
Yeah. So
when we look back at it, yeah. But yeah, firstly, we are joined by myself, Max, Luke Rogers, and Mark Colson. So firstly, how are you both? How was your New Year's celebrations?
Well, last podcast you called him Sir, and you called me Mister.
We are joined by, what did I call you, Lord? No.
It's just Luke.
Okay, so we're joined by Luke and Sir Mark Colson. There we go. Thank you. But yeah, how are you both? How are your New Year's?
Christmas was great. Christmas was great. Had a nice little break. Some good downtime. I think I had the same cold that everyone else had, which was a shame. But apart from that, I had a really good time with some family. Good little break at New Year's, going up to Wales. So yeah, I had a good time and looking forward to getting back to normal routine this week. It's been great. Good to see the familiar faces and good to get back to it, man.
Yeah, was it cold in Wales?
It was cold in Wales, yes, man.
Chilly,
it was chilly. It is always chilly, but it wasn't raining, which is nice for Wales.
Did you get any presents?
I did get some presents, yeah. I got some nice presents this year. I got loads of nice little things that I got the Croc slippers, which was really nice.
They're nice.
Really comfy. I got a pair of Jordans, which was nice. Got a Michael Jordan jersey for my sister, which was really nice.
Yeah.
Got a little weekend away glamping, so I did very good this year.
Glamping,
yeah. I haven't been for ages, but I did really well this year in presents. I was really
happy. Some socks, because I'm at the age now where socks. I love socks,
but I didn't get any socks this year.
I specifically asked my mum not to get me socks because I've just got so many socks now. It's just getting a bit out of hand. I've got some lovely socks off Mel, actually, one of our wonderful members, and Louise, who bought me some Air Jordan socks.
Oh, nice. What about boxes?
Do you like? And a Miami Dolphins jersey, which was very kind.
Yeah, that's very nice. Yeah. You both like getting boxes at Christmas? I love getting new pants as well. It's the only time I ever get them for some reason.
Yeah, it's usually socks for me. It's not so much the pants.
Or a Lynx Africa.
Lynx Africa always goes down well. To get some blue Chanel perfume as well. I know Luke's a fan.
Okay, he's got my Jordans and now he's got the old blue Chanel.
Well, I did very well this Christmas. I was very spoiled this Christmas. And my birthday falls obviously just before Christmas as well. So I did very well this year. A lot better than.
Yeah, how was your Christmas?
No, it was lovely, thank you. Yeah, it was lovely. Very relaxed and chilled. It's the same conversation over and over again, isn't it?
Yeah,
but it was lovely. We have a very typical little British Christmas. It's nice and relaxing, out in the countryside, recharge the batteries, see some family and friends, some good food, some nice drink, some games. It was a lovely time. Very excited to be back in the mix though. It was a nice break, but kind of itching to go again. Get back into some normality. I love the chaos of Christmas, of going to bed late, waking up late, etc. But ready to go again. And there's a real buzz and anticipation in the air. I'll tell you what, there's something special brewing in the air at MSC. And I can just sense it. I can just feel the drive, the excitement, and it's going to be a big year.
I've got an interesting question for you before we get into our topic. So I think a lot of the listeners enjoyed your little rant on how Cool Runnings is the best film to ever be made and all this kind of stuff. What's your number one kind of Christmas film or film that you watch over that festive period? Do you have one?
I didn't really watch any. The only film I watched was the new Batman, which I hadn't watched, which obviously isn't a Christmas film. That's all I watched over Christmas, really. But I do like.
You're definitely a diehard. Yeah, you're a diehard.
Yeah, it's got to be Die Hard. Never gets old. It's just absolutely classic, isn't it?
I've never watched Die Hard.
No, I actually have never.
Wow.
Wow. I always hear the thing is it a Christmas film?
Wow. Yeah, there's
It
this
is a
conversation the
Christmas
other day,
film, yeah.
isn't it? It's like it's set around Christmas, and it's kind of loosely themed around a Christmas party that's happening, and it evolves from there. I'm really shocked neither of you have seen it. I mean, that's maybe something to add to the list. Yeah,
for me,
for me,
the favorite one is Home Alone 2.
Yeah,
I love Home Alone 2 for 3 reasons. There's 3 memes in there that I love. It's such a stupid joke that about 4 people know, but once a member at the gym did this deadlift, and then at the top he went real shaky and like did this like weird noise, and it reminds me when the man in Home Alone 2 gets electrocuted. He's doing like a 240 deadlift, mad up. So there's that part. Donald Trump giving I like that because it's like when he was going for president, like you should vote for him because he's the kind of guy that would stop and give directions to an job. And then they also like the pigeon woman when the memes are that Piers Morgan. So I watch it for them 3 moments, and I know when it's called Dad is going to get it doesn't even know the guy that's got electric, like who did the deadlift. But for that reason, I love them 3.
Yeah, mine is the Nativity. I love the Nativity.
Oh right,
have you watched it?
I don't think I have.
No, I haven't.
Neither of you have watched the Nativity. It's unbelievable. Like best Christmas film out there. It's got you know the guy out of. Have you watched Sherlock the series? No. Oh well.
Next.
Next topic. But yeah, the Nativity for me, and I love Elf and all of those kind of classics.
I love the Grinch as well. I watched Grinch Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
Grinch is good.
Yeah, it is very good. Yeah, that's a little catch up.
Fantastic.
New Year's, and then we've got a couple of topics that we want to talk about that are sort of very related to what people are going through.
Yeah, I think January is a good time where everyone's like they've had their fun, everyone's kind of looking forward to getting back to routine, and they want to start to make they want to get into good habits. They want to maybe have a bit of a detoxing month. And the big 2 at the minute we talk about is Dry January, and also I got it wrong in the last podcast, so this is a good chance to get it right. Veganuary.
Yeah, well, there we go.
Not Veganuary.
Veganuary.
So Veganuary. So I guess we're going to talk a little bit about like there and try and answer some of the questions that people have when they try and adopt, first of all, a vegan diet or a vegetarian diet and make the conscious decision to cut back on meat. I guess the big things people are worried about is it going to affect their performance in the gym? Are they still going to be able to meet their goals, which might be physique dependent or sport dependent, performance dependent? So we can answer a couple of those questions today, talk a little bit about anecdotes that we know of, a little bit about the research, and then also talk a little bit about Dry Jan, some of our experiences with people drinking, cutting back on drinking, the health benefits, the performance benefits, and get stuck into the nitty gritty of those. I think it's a good topic for people. And hopefully we can answer some questions that people might have about it.
Yeah, cool. I think first question to ask you both is, I know we asked this in the last podcast, so it'll sound repetitive, but have either of you tried going vegan or veggie or pescatarian or any kind of thing where you've had a restrictive kind of, not restrictive, but changed your diet kind of in January or any other month?
Well, I've never done Veganuary, but I have tried to do No Nut November. But after
basically the same thing,
after 4 days, I had some peanut butter, so I broke that. So I failed No Nut November after 4 days.
Too much.
Yeah, but it's impossible.
I
I've thought about it a lot, and I really enjoy eating meat. It's one of the 3 things in life I enjoy.
Only 3.
Yeah,
the other 2. What the other 2?
Coffee.
And
powerlifting, and they aren't linked. We're going to talk about it now, but no, I do enjoy eating vegetables, but I do really enjoy eating meat. I really enjoy like a good steak, a good chicken. I would be happy to make a meal where like it doesn't have to have meat in it, but I don't think I could go pure vegan or vegetarian. I think I could probably do vegetarian, pescatarian for sure. I have in the past like made an effort. Like if I go out, I eat a lot of fish. I think in Birmingham, it's not the best for getting fresh fish. But if I go to a restaurant or if I go to the coast or abroad, I do like eating fish.
Yeah, a bit of fish and chips by the sea. Yeah, it's lovely.
So I don't think I could go full vegan. Full respect to everyone that does. It's just, not for me.
Yeah,
I think being a vegan's being vegetarian's a lot easier nowadays. But I think it's tough, and it's not for me personally. But I respect everyone that wants to do it. And yeah.
Cool. What are you, Mark?
Yeah, no, same for me, really. Yeah, so just absolutely love my meat.
You love your meat, yeah?
I love meat. It's really tasty. So but yeah, same as Luke. You know, if people are doing it for ethical reasons and whatnot, then it's all good. Yeah. Cool. So I think
What about you, Max? Like, because I guess they do cold meal deals for vegetarian sandwiches, but you always seem to have chicken and stuffing. So could you cut down and have a
50% of my diet, the old chicken and stuffing meal deal. So yeah, no, I'm the same. I love meat, fish. I'd love to give it a go. Like, I know quite a lot of people that have sort of given vegan dieting a go. Do you call it veganism or something?
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people as well that, if they don't go full vegan, might have like one day a week where they eat vegan food or vegetarian foods. There's a conscious effort to cut back on eating. Yeah, that's quite interesting.
Flexitarian.
Like Christmas Day, I'm not going to be veggie.
Yeah,
but no, like, the way if everyone did it, it would cut down obviously meat consumption. But
yeah.
Do you train anyone that is a vegetarian or vegan?
I don't actually know, but I do know. I've got a couple of friends who have become vegan, and they've actually said their moods completely changed. Like, they feel, I don't know, more alive in the day and all of that kind of stuff. So that's why I've always been interested to give it a go, just to see how my mood sort of changes. But then, as we'll look into in a second, I don't particularly want, if it is going to affect my performance, I don't want it to, if that is a factor. We'll dive into the research into a second to see if that is a factor. But yeah,
we spoke about this yesterday. I'll ask the question to you in terms of like high level athletes that are vegetarian or vegan. Do you know of many? There's always like there's the weightlifter got pointed out in that documentary that we couldn't remember yesterday. We forgot what it's called. Game changer. It was the vegan weightlifter in there. In powerlifting, Sophia, she is the European champion and she's vegan. And she puts a lot of like good stuff out online of like good foods that you can eat, good restaurants that you can eat at. Sophia Alice is a great vegan athlete. I train a couple of vegetarians and vegans.
Cool. I guess I don't really know many famous, but I do know that I bet in the modern day it would be a lot easier, especially within like sort of full-time athlete team sport kind of thing where they have personal chefs. It'll be a lot easier for them to make up vegan dishes or vegetarian dishes, whereas I reckon a few years ago potentially would have been a lot harder for people to sustain that kind of way of living.
For sure. I think being especially vegan, like vegetarian, like you've got, dairy, etc., eggs. Being a full vegan before was incredibly tough to get your protein, but now with like the meat alternatives, it's a hell of a lot easier. Remember, if you go to like a restaurant a few years back, there'd be like maybe one option for vegetarians. Now, like half the menu's vegetarian. It's because it's getting more popular, and also because the amount of foods that they can make from it is so much higher.
I guess we have a little dive into the research, like into how it affects performance, all that kind of stuff, muscle tissue.
So what do you think are the main things that people are when they say they want to adapt? They're worried about adapting a vegan diet or cut back on the meat. What are the big worries that people have when it comes to like?
I guess the common is sort of good amounts of protein. I think that's number one.
Protein in, the strength levels change, body composition, I guess. They'll be the main talking points from that.
Cool. Well, we've got a couple of bits of research. We're going to link. We shared it yesterday, the day of filming. I did an article 2 years ago actually on a vegan diet and how it would affect your performance and your body composition goals. So we have a lot of good research on it. There was a study that came out last month, that we're going to talk a little bit about as well. And this was quite interesting that it compared a whole food diet, because there's people, even when they're doing the vegan diet, might not want to eat the meat alternatives. Again, the argument then is, rather than it being a health perspective thing, it's they don't want to have something that's that processed or man-made. They want to eat just whole foods, which again, fair enough, whatever you want to do. So they compared the whole food diet to a whole food vegan diet, beg your pardon, to a vegan diet with meat alternatives, to a omnivorous diet. Omnivorous.
Good word.
Rather than saying the normal diet.
Normal.
Carnivore normal. They compared the whole foods to those other two to see like a few things. It was only over short term, which is one of the bad outcomes of the study. But that's studies in general. Because I remember, in this study, they gave each person $100 per dieting phase to buy the meats or to buy the
cash. Cash.
So it's not going to go on forever. It went on for a month, otherwise they would have been massively out of pocket. But yes, we compared it. It compared it on how enjoyable the diet was, and it compared performance outcomes for both running and strength. So it did, I think it was a 5-rep max test on a Smith machine, I think it was, and it compared a 12-minute run, and then from there they could get like different results to compare the performance. They also did a body scan, which again is not the best way to not a body scan, sorry, the what the scales?
The Tanita scales, is it?
I think it was the Tinita scales. Yeah, so they're not the best way to do it, but it's something.
Yeah.
So the first one, which was quite interesting, is the enjoyment of the diet was the least in the meat alternative.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's because vegan bacon is shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. This isn't very nice. Real. I think if you've gone from eating meat to then eating meat alternatives, one of my little pet peeves actually is without naming names, someone that's a vegetarian being like, oh, this tastes just like chicken. It's like, you've never had chicken. Don't tell me it tastes just like chicken. You don't know. Chicken. You don't know. And it's like, so yeah, their enjoyment wasn't as good, which I think is important for people, because if you're not enjoying the diet, and that might have been actually because like the whole experience of buying the foods is a little bit harder. Like you've got to go, maybe not to a specialty one. They're more available in supermarkets now, but it's a bit harder than just going to, like, if I've got to make a meal tonight, I'll just go to Cart around the corner. You're going to make a bit more of an effort to get the vegan alternatives.
I wonder if it would have made it a little bit better than the study if they would have done some kind of like double-blind procedure where sort of, I don't know if they didn't actually give the goal of the participants, like the actual goal, and they would have said, just eat this food. They haven't really said what it is, so they don't say if it's actually meat or actually vegan food or actually...
But I think it's but I think
it's past the ethics, unfortunately. But
it wouldn't.
Good, it'd be a good idea. Yeah,
and I think it's important to kind of understand that if it is enjoyable. Like, I think that's an important part for people. Like, are you going to enjoy being on this vegan diet? Is it something that you're going to be able to sustain? Because this was for a month, but can you sustain that forever?
Yeah.
So I think that is quite important. I do understand where you're coming from. But yeah, so then the protein intake that they got, the whole foods was 1.1 gram per kilo. The whole foods with fake meats was 1.3 grams. And then the omnivorous group was 1.5 grams per kilo of body weight. So, yeah, it's a little bit harder to get the protein in from what they were doing. But there was actually no difference on the performance for both the running and for the strength, which was quite interesting.
Yeah.
But then we delve into a little bit further, and because it was only a month to study, we think that actually the difference, because the protein recommendation for people is 1.6 grams if you're looking for like the most optimal from the research, 1.6 grams per kilo of your body weight, up to about 2.2, maybe a little bit higher if you're dieting hard. But yeah, maybe it doesn't make a difference over a month, but over a longer period of time, we think that would start to make a bit more of a significant difference.
That's the argument against a study, isn't it? And no study's perfect, of course, but if you take an intermediate or advanced level lifter, like let's say, you know, for example, yourself,
any of us,
like if you go on a 4-week vegan diet, it's such a short amount of time and you're so well trained previously. It's like you go on holiday for a week or 10 days, come back, you're not going to have lost anything.
No.
4 weeks of like changing your food structuring, you're still getting calories in, etc. It's just too short of a time to make any significant difference. So
over time, it might potentially.
It gives a clue, doesn't it? And that's the thing with the research is it gives you a clue. And this is where with research and studies, you can't just read one line and say, right, that's the gospel. Well, I've read that, red meat causes colon cancer, for example, or like, eating vegan's going to make you stronger or weaker or anything like that. It's actually like, right, do a bit of spend the time to do a bit of reading and the research. And then as we can see from there, it's good research. It's, very good research, but it's only for, the restrictions as there are with any research is that it's only 4 weeks. Therefore, as I say, for any, intermediate or advanced lifter, you're not going to drop off in 4 weeks. So I would argue that the testing, the strength testing is not relevant, but it's not particularly accurate.
Because
it gives a clue, though, as you say, and it would be very interesting to do it for longer.
The other one to that is like you think about like if you were going to do a test in a month and you're like trying to maximize that outcome, you'd think, okay, if I ramp my carbs up, that's going to be really beneficial. So for the group that were matching, they're all matching calories. Then it was just looking at the nutrient difference. The group that are eating lower protein would have had more carbs. That's going to help the 12-minute test. It's probably also going to help the 5-rep max testing to an extent. So like again, short term, it's probably really helped that. Over the long term, I personally think that the difference in protein of 0.4, that's quite a lot of protein.
It's like third. It's a third compared from the top group to the bottom. So
I think that would really make a difference. But like you said, when you start to put these things together, which is why like a meta-analysis is probably the gold standard of your research, you could put it together with the other protein research that we know. There was a study in 2020 that I did the article on by Montaigne. and they matched the protein on a vegan diet compared to a omnivorous diet.
Omnivorous, yes.
And they both had 1.8 grams per protein per kilo of body weight, and it was spread over 4 servings. 19 to 21 grams of 3 meals and another 20 gram serving post-workout. And that was absolutely no difference over a longer period of time. I can't remember the exact time, but there was no difference in anything that they tested. So when you're matching for the protein, all of a sudden it becomes like a very negligible thing to do. So, but there are caveats.
Yeah, there is.
Mark, what are the caveats? So you can match the protein. You're not going to have any drop in performance from being on a vegan diet, but what are the things that we should be looking out for?
Well, we've got to make one thing we can say for sure is it's harder to get that. Are we saying if it's at absolute level? If it's
so if I'm eating 150 grams of protein from meat or 150 grams of protein from a vegan diet, it's the same.
So one thing that you're going to be hard to come by in the vegan diet is your amino acid profile. So that's, we were talking about it yesterday. To repeat ourselves. That's the thing. Like when you're eating animal meats, obviously, like that's containing all the BCAAs that you need. We were also laughing about like, the supplementation of BCAAs and how we used to eat those like Skittles because to get them in. But your animal meats are literally going to cover all of the needs for that. With a vegan diet, there's just not the same amino acid profile. So that's one disadvantage, that if you are on a vegan diet, then that's where supplementation can be useful to make sure that we are.
It's a lot more thought process, isn't it? Like having to
like Mark said, it's the leucine's the most important one of the BCAAs, but then it's the amino acid profiles. It is complete with your meat. I think it's also complete with dairy. But it's not complete with your vegetarian and vegan source. You might get like quinoa. It's not going to have a complete amino acid profile. So if you've got to be a lot more varied. Like if you're eating meat, you could have chicken every single meal. It wouldn't matter. But with a vegan, you've got to eat a variety of different protein sources to make sure you're getting sufficient of all of the amino acids that you need. If you eat the same source every time, you're not going to get it. It's interesting because with the study that they did on, it was on corn. Do you remember corn?
Yeah, I've tried corn.
Corn is high end, man, in terms of like your vegan pot. It's probably one of the best ones. It's from it says mushroom. It's not mushroom. We got sued for that actually. We're reading into it. Got sued because it's not mushroom. They sell it as mushroom because it sounds better than fungus. Even though mushroom is a fungus. When you tell people they're eating fungus, they shit themselves.
Do you know a weird fact about mushrooms?
No.
Oh, okay.
But
apparently we are closer with regard to DNA and biology to mushrooms than we are to like.
I'm going to stop you there. I'll stop you there because
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, that's true because I said this yesterday on the podcast.
No, you didn't say that.
I pretty much said that. I said meat is closer to
meat.
Fungus. Yeah, meat is closer to fungus than it is a
vegetarian. Human beings.
Yeah, but then you've gone away. I hate that he's done that.
He's done a bit of research.
I knew. No,
you didn't mention it
yesterday when we were talking. I was sat there going, "I've got a cool fact to tell him," but then you kept talking, so I didn't want to interrupt.
You could be a dolphin.
Yeah.
But it is very true actually that fungus is closer to animals / humans than it is to vegetarians. So it's actually a really good source of the protein. Yeah.
Continue. Sorry, I'd interrupt. You were talking about corn and its mushroom. Or sorry, no, not its mushroom base. It's
the fungi.
It's a very fun.
Insert mushroom being a fungi joke.
Yeah.
Have you
tried corn? Have you tried corn?
I have tried corn. Yeah.
It actually doesn't.
It looks terrible in the bag, doesn't it? It looks like sheep feed.
Yeah, it does actually. With old Mo's face on the front. Old Mo Farah's.
He loves some corn.
He does like a bit of corn, yeah.
And again.
I think at one point a few years ago, it was like every other advert on there. It was just corn, Mo.
He was all over it, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was all over it.
Yeah.
I guess the other one then I think about is like, a lot of people, especially on the vegan diet, are going to have to supplement probably a lot harder than they would do if you're eating an omnivorous diet, especially if you're dieting and trying to moderate your carbohydrates. Like you've got the fake meat alternatives, but like other than that, if you're eating the whole food, if you're eating whole foods, I guess maybe you don't have supplements, but maybe you want to avoid the fake meat. You're probably going to have protein shakes on top of it to top up the protein. Because again, the research, 1.6 grams to 2.2 divided by 3 to 5 meals. So probably a shake would come into there to help really hit that.
What about in the lead up to competition and things like that, and weight categorized competitions, or anyone looking to lean up a little bit in a short period of time? What are we thinking of the differences there?
When you talk about like bodybuilding, or you talk about like acutely manipulating your macros to try and hit a certain weight target, you've just got to accept that with the vegan diet, you're going to be eating more carbs than you would do, which isn't a bad thing. But if you're trying to acutely reduce your carbs to make a weight category, for example, the week of a comp, I might drop my carbs down from 300 grams to 100 grams to drop the water weight. Vegan diets are so high in carb comparatively. And even if you have a protein source, like you have a chicken breast, there's no carb in it. There's very little fat in it. You know exactly what you're getting. If you protein source is quinoa, you're still getting some carbs in there as well. So I think that last week, or if you're bodybuilding, you're having to have so many supplements to do that. It's such a small thing because not many people are going to do that. But for the ones that do, it's definitely something to think about. And you're probably going to have a lot of shakes or a lot of different supplements that week to do so. So that's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
Some more thought process.
The game changer still comes up in conversation, like even now, like years later, and some people, like obviously it's been critiqued a lot, since more information's been found out, but still some people swear by it, don't they?
We were joking about the one that winds me up is the erection one. When they tested their erection overnight and compared it on the vegan diet, which they gave them like a really good vegan source to like a fatty cut of beef or a fatty cut of pork taco or something like that. And then they tested, like they put something around their dicks and then
Cock ring.
So pretty much a cock ring.
Yeah.
And then measured their erections in the night and they're like, oh my God, your erection was 20% better with, whoa!
Yeah, your man's had half a cow.
Yeah.
And his gut's full of blood, like trying to digest it. He's been to Bazenders, like...
Yeah, it's but some of the stats that came out of there is, I mean, it's tough.
Very biased.
Yeah, very biased. The guy was trying to sell his pea protein company when he, but
my sister's vegan and she absolutely swore by Game Changer.
Yeah, well, it suits the narrative, doesn't it? If that's something that you're into. The stats on there was one about the bench press increase. I can't remember if it was like 80% or 800. It was a stupid number. If it had have said 4%, I'd have been like, okay,
your interest.
Okay, 4%. I'd take 4%. 80%, man. Yeah. Who's increasing the bench by 80%? I would give anything for an 80% increase.
How much would you pay for an 80% increase?
Oh, I'd hell of a lot.
Would you?
Yeah. I don't know, like, I mean, I haven't got much money, but...
Would you pay 50 grand?
I haven't got 50 grand. If I did, no, I still wouldn't. But
sell some Bitcoin for it.
I'd sell one Bitcoin 16,000 at the minute. Come back in 2 years.
Yeah, that is a ridiculous stat, isn't it?
Yeah. But
so in conclusion, I think we're saying that there's research there to suggest that in terms of performance, there may not be much difference between a vegan and a carnivore,
omnivorous,
and an omnivorous. There might not be much difference in terms of performance if you're hitting the same amount of protein, you're training the same, etc., etc. But what we can say is quite conclusively that it is more difficult.
Harder work.
It is harder work for sure to hit your protein targets. Like you said, chicken breast, bang, you're getting 30, 40 grams of protein, 50 grams of protein potentially. It's very hard to do that with, in a vegan diet, to hit that amount of protein and keep carbs in check, etc., without excessive supplementation, or at least reasonable supplementation, and also the benefits of leucine, other BCAAs in animal meat. You're not going to be getting that in the vegan diet, so there's potential things we're missing out on there, or very good health orientated things we're missing out on there. So I think it's just being aware that yes, you can do it, but it's harder work.
I think if you made the moral decision that you want to cut back on meat, fantastic. It's not going to affect your performance. Like the study showed, it matches muscle protein synthesis. You just have to be super mindful. And I think you've got to be a lot more organized. You can't just come back at the end of a night and say, oh, I'm going to have oh, I've got some chicken, I'll chuck it in with this. You've got to really plan your meals. You've got to make sure you get a multitude of sources to match the amino acid profiles, to get sufficient amino acids, like Mark said. So it just takes a little bit more effort, but you've already made the decision that you want to do it. And if you are worried about dropping the performance, that's the little trade-off that you've got. You're just going to have to be a bit more conscious with it. But like you said, all things being well, from the multiple studies that we've looked at, there shouldn't be much of a drop. It's just a little bit more effort.
Yeah. So if you're after sort of giving Veganuary a go, we've concluded that it's definitely doable and it won't affect your performance too much. But as you said, just a little bit more.
But according to the research, you won't enjoy it.
Yeah, there's no enjoyment.
You won't like the fake meat, but yeah, you'll be able to. And it's So there you go. That's a good little overview. You will not lose your gains. You just got to make an effort.
And you'll hate your life. Yeah.
You'll hate your life. Fantastic. Should we move on to one that we have all done?
Dry Jan. Dry Jan. Yes.
I haven't actually done it.
I've never done Dry Jan, but we've all made efforts to cut back on our booze.
I probably have, but without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
But we were talking about this, weren't we? Like, it's it's obviously a very popular, it's a popular thing, and you say, I mean, much more popular than Veganuary is at the moment, although that's obviously grown. But Dry Jan's massive. Like, everybody knows what Dry Jan is. A lot of people do it. There'll be some guys at rugby doing it, I'm sure. After the game tomorrow, they'll be like, oh no, Dry Jan.
I almost feel
we'll go into a bit of that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's there's like 2 or 3 months a year now when people like Stoptober, Dry Jan.
Stoptober. Not heard of that.
What's that?
Why else I'm not
drinking alcohol?
like a dry October.
Okay.
Unless that's small. No, I'm pretty sure it's drinking.
No,
there's like
November. There's no nut November.
There's no nut November. It's Stoptober. I swear it's drinking. Stoptober. There's like 2 or 3 months a year where people are drinking, and I think honestly that people are just cutting down on drinking. Like overall, Lara, who's a vegan, actually, shout out to Laricus. She shared something yesterday talking about
the podcast.
She's one of our full listeners.
Hi, Lara.
We've doubled. Wow.
Well, Lara's going to show her mom now, so we might actually get 5. She shared something yesterday saying that on average, like 20 people drink 20% less than they used to. And I think like our generation was such a bingey generation. I don't think it is so much now. She also was talking about like Liam talks about it here, where they'll go on business and like it's just a lot of drinking as part of the work.
Yeah.
And I think that is starting to cut down a little bit as well. I think people are just not drinking as much as they used to. But I feel sorry for some people where they feel like they have to like have an excuse to say no to drinking.
Yeah, you kind of made to feel bad.
Like that guy that you said, I'm doing Dry Jan. People are like, oh, fair play, carry on. But if you just said, I don't want to drink tonight, it's like, go on, have a drink. Have a drink. And it's almost like you need an excuse to not be able to drink. And it's a shame, man, but
people change.
You could just say, I'm doing Dry Jan. And it's like, no one would question it. That's weird.
The big thing for me, I remember like, I used to go out like, when I was a little bit younger, and if I had a competition coming up, but have a drink, like, no, I'm okay. Go on, have a drink. Well, actually, man, I've got a comp in 4 weeks. So fair play, mate. Fucking fair play.
Yeah.
You almost, it was a great, it was, no one would have, I just don't want to drink tonight.
Yeah.
But saying you've got into comp, sometimes I wouldn't even have a comp. I've got a comp.
Yeah.
Again, you compete a lot.
I feel like nowadays, though, it's getting more accepted, isn't it? I reckon, as you lads talk about your generation, I reckon back in the day, if someone maybe said, I'm not drinking or whatever, there would be more peer pressure, be like, come on.
Massively. Like, especially in the rugby circle. Like, it's like, oh, gee, you'd get so much stick. Like, I'm talking like 15 years ago, like, if you didn't have a drink, like, after a game, or you didn't come on the social, like, or you weren't drinking, oh my God. Like,
all hell,
like, it would be a massive thing. Whereas now I think like young lads coming through, if it's like, look, I don't drink, or like I'm not drinking much, it's like nobody bats an eyelid now.
It's similar in a way to like the Veganuary, like vegan food. Like 10 years ago, you'd go to a restaurant, there'd be hardly any options. Now if I get to a bar, like if I go with people that don't drink and there's like non-alcoholic gin, before like, oh, I'm having a Coke, I'm not drinking. But now there's like, you can have an enjoyable mocktail, and I've had a mocktail out a few times and they're great, man.
Nice.
Yeah, really tasty. Yeah,
have a Beck's Blue as well.
There's loads. There's loads.
You can also
Shandy.
You can also have a Shandy Shack, which is 2% alcohol, or near enough, 2.5% alcohol, and tastes absolutely delicious.
It's refreshing. I don't
It's
like
really
it, but it's
refreshing.
very refreshing.
Yeah, give Shandy Shack a follow on Instagram. And it's a really wonderful beer for like, when you just want that lighter touch.
Yeah.
It's like a flavored IPA. It's just lovely, absolutely beautiful, and just just much lighter than your normal beers.
And also,
would highly recommend.
If you use MSC 10, you'll get 10% off your first order.
Correct.
That's
Fantastic.
not true, but we're working towards it.
It is.
Yeah. So
We're working on a commercial deal. But
when it comes to drinking, do you like? We've all got stories. Mark will tell his story in a second of like, a heavy night of drinking and then pulling something out of the bag and having a fantastic like game or having a fantastic gym session. But like, how much of a difference do you find like if you've been drinking more compared to not? Do you notice anything short term or?
So for me personally, I've never had a good experience after I've had a night of heavy drinking. I remember one specifically when I went out to celebrate my A-level results or something. I think I got horrible results, but you've still got to celebrate, of course. Got absolutely flattered. Went to Prism in Birmingham, which was have you been there?
No.
You got to remember I was 18. And then played a rugby game the next day, and I had just one of the worst games. Like I just felt my focus wasn't there. Felt really unfit. Whereas I specifically remember from the night before when I was pissed, I felt invincible, and then it just goes within the night, and it was one of the worst experiences I've had on a rugby pitch. And even ever since then, when I've gone out and drank, and then say I've gone to train the next day, if I've gone out in the week or something, my gym session's been terrible. I've just felt like, right, just get through it for the sake of it. Everything feels horrible. Everything feels off. So for me personally, I've never had a good experience.
It's interesting because there is a genetic component to that. I read somewhere that there's like a certain gene that makes you more susceptible or whatever to hangovers.
Oh,
so maybe maybe you got that.
It's actually true.
Yeah. There's like a certain percentage of people that never get hungover.
Oh, you always meet a couple of those, don't you? That are like, I never get hungover.
But then like maybe they'll come in and be like absolutely sounds.
Yeah.
But it's interesting when we talk about this because it's like the outlier stories, and that's why there's such good stories. It's not like every time it happens. Like Mark's story is a great story, but it's an outlier. It's not like every time he does that, he would have a great performance. It's a 1 in 10 or 1 in 20. But Mark, would you like to talk about your fitness awards?
Oh dear, when was it? 2016, 2017, something like that. So we'd been invited to the National Fitness Awards, which is you get awards handed out for best gym, best this, best that. You have to pay them about $5,000 basically, and then they might give you an award. It's terrible. Yeah, it was
it's a lovely night.
Absolutely brilliant night. I mean, that was probably the loosest night I've ever had, and I think you said the same. Like it was absolute turbo, like big night. And I had a game. It was a Friday night. We were in Leicester, and I had a game on the Saturday.
Early kickoff,
which also happened to be an early kickoff. Like the only time there's ever been an early kickoff ever. So it was a 1 o'clock kickoff. So I had to get back to Birmingham for like 11 a.m. or something like that. So got to stumbled to the train station like maybe 8-9 o'clock. Came across Jackie who was there, and there's a picture of me looking. I mean, it's the worst I've ever looked, and I've had some bad pictures.
I've never seen your eyes look so small.
It was
literal piss holes in the sun.
It was outrageous. Like it was funny that we were sleeping in the same flat as Jackie, and neither of us knew we'd left at the same time, and just stumbled across each other there. Couldn't string a sentence together. So I was in a bad way. I was in an absolute hanging state. Got the train back. Was like trying, like, when it'd be better if you were sick, like I just couldn't be sick, although I felt sick the whole way home. Got to rugby ground, just sat there for about half an hour, like just shaking, feeling horrendous, like wanting to chunder, not in a good state. Warm up, absolute shambles, like worst warm up I've ever done. Like I couldn't catch the ball, like every time I ran I felt sick, and I was like, this is going to be absolutely honking 80 minutes. And then turned out I had probably the game of my life, played absolutely unbelievably, scored a couple of tries, man of the match, and played really, really well. Just basically managed to blag a performance together.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
There.
No justice at all, because I should have played terribly.
Yeah.
And having said that, it is since then, I've not done it again. I've not had a big night
And
or barely even drink. I just don't drink even one drink on a Friday night, to be honest. Like, I've not drank since, because although I played really well, I don't want to ever feel that again. Like, that feeling of like going to the ground, feeling hungover, like, that's not a nice place to be, man. Like, that's
like after the game.
That's not cool. Horrendous again. Yeah, horrendous. So it was almost like I blagged it. Like, you know, it's like if you got, you know, your wife or whoever's got a, you know, big day planned on the Sunday, and you're like, oh yeah, I'll be fine for it. I'll be fine. You're not. You wake up absolutely, you know, it's a big day at IQ or something like that, and you we spoke about it before, where like you just wake up and blag, you just pretend that you're feeling all right and you get through it. And I think that was the thing with the rugby, is like, you know, you catch a high ball or whatever, play ball back there, caught a high ball, and you got someone running at you trying to end you. Like, you kind of have to like react. You can't just go, oh, I feel sick. Blah. Like, you just have to do it. It's not something I'd recommend at all. And it's one of those things that if I did it 10 times, I'd probably play terribly 9 times out of 10. I don't know. Like, I just don't want to try it again, because it wasn't a particularly nice feeling. But yeah, you can blag it. But I think what we found and what we spoke about before is it's frequency, and it's like macro versus micro, isn't it? You can get away with like maybe the odd night and then turning up and doing like training well or performing well or something. But if it's a regular thing and you're a heavy drinker, and it's going to have an effect. Yeah,
mine's slightly easier because I can, if I know I'm going out, I can arrange the week a little bit different for you guys. Obviously, you've got your games set on this day, so if you're going out on a Friday, you've got to play on Saturday. You can't just have an easy session. So if I'm drinking, I'll try and have an easy session the day after. But like, some of the things I like is like if you've been out on a night out with your friends, like me and a few mates went to Snobs like this year, like on a Wednesday for the Queen's Jubilee. And then the day after, we always like, "What?"
Poor Queen.
I had the Queen mask in Snob. They had the Queen mask that we were wearing all the time. Rest in peace. But then the morning after, the afternoon after, everyone that went to Snobs then went to the gym, and it was like this, like, you know, bonding session that you had where you know, you'd all been out together, we all were obviously hungover, you were fucking doing it together though, you were in the gym training, and it was great. But normally I would just arrange the week, and if that's pretty much what we're going to say now, is that if you are going to go out and drink, like arranging the week around it is probably a good idea to limit that. So yeah, like, because a lot of it's damage limitation, isn't it? You've had a big night, and then the day after, you're not waking up, like, even if you're trying to blag it, you're having a fry up, you're having a big breakfast, you're going to have a Domino's. If you've got like an aesthetic or a body related or even performance related, you know, the night out's bad enough, but then the day after is, you know, more damage is done.
You're not 2,000 or 3,000 extra calories on the night, empty calories that aren't really offering a lot, and then let's say it's the next day of the 3,000 calorie Domino's, etc. And that's where, like, I think a lot of people struggle, where they're trying to lose weight and they can't, and they're like, oh, but I'm eating like, you know, one sandwich a day, but they're going out on the Saturday, they're getting smashed, and the Sunday they're eating 8,000 calories.
So what are the when you're drinking, like, I guess, well, what's the benefit when you're doing the dry Jan, or like what are we seeing that people are getting the benefit out of it? I guess
it's that whole, like, I guess you're going to be in a better mindset, and performance could hopefully go up. Like, for me personally, if I drink heavy, it's normally my sleep that takes the first hit. So like, I get terrible. I know we've said this phrase a lot of times. We were talking about yesterday that it's normally my deep sleep is terrible, and I look at it on my Garmin watch and I see the app. Whenever I've had a drink, and you're the same, Luke, aren't you? Even if it's a couple, my sleep is just terrible. And then I don't know if it's like placebo based, but I'll have to look at my app and see that I've had shit sleep, and then I'll instantly kind of feel worse. I don't know if that's into a bad habit, but then my training will then suffer because I've had shit deep sleep. My training then the next day or the day after that I can just tell that it's not as good. So that's always the first thing that affects me. So I reckon going through dry Jan, and there's been phases throughout the year when I've gone a month or two without drinking, my training does go up, just because recovery is one of the most important factors within your training. And that is like I can see that it does actually sort of impact that really like closely. So for me, I think it'll just training will work if you do have a little bit of time of drinking.
Yeah, the alcohol's a funny one with the sleep because you get tired when you've had a drink.
Yeah.
So you initially you really nod off, but then it's the deep sleep just absolutely. And we know that from from like different studies. Like it's terrible. Also, if you've been drinking pints, you're just up all night pissing. So the sleep is just terrible.
I always wake up early as well because you got that headache, like that mild headache. Because it's never a good sleep.
No.
I think almost like go back to like the rugby thing or you going and training. Like it's again in the micro. Like you like in the occasional you can get away with it. You could even if like for you, Max, you feel like terrible. I feel terrible after a drink as well. But like if you really wanted to, you could come in and train, and you'd probably train all right once you'd like watered up, good warm up, like psych yourself up a bit. But if it's a regular thing, the effect on the sleep is going to add up, and that's where I think you get the issue. So you can get away with it, like on the occasion. It's not nice, and I personally would choose not to do it with my training. Probably a bit luckier where there's a bit more flexibility as a field athlete to like change your training around during the week if there's like a random weeknight where you need to drink or whatever. But like if it's a regular thing and the sleep's getting affected on the regular, then that's going to have the knock-on effect. And
sleep's the big one. You look at if you've had one bad sleep, like everyone has a bad sleep now and then, but you can get through that day by having some extra caffeine, maybe having a little nap in the day and doing a couple of things to kind of get yourself back to full force. But if you've had bad sleep for like 4 nights in a row, you're going to feel chronically terrible. And it's the same with the drinking, like one night off, one night every month is not going to be massive. But if you're drinking a couple of times a week and it's really affecting your sleep, that has a massive effect on your sleep quality, which then has a knock-on effect to your productivity, your training, not just your training, but your just day-to-day, your work, your just general productivity just goes down loads. So I think, a one-off night compared to like drinking multiple times a week is crazy different. Because even like 2 or 3 drinks affects the sleep, and you can see on the watches or the apps that your heart rate spikes. Probably 20%.
That feeds in nicely to like sort of what we want to sort of recommend to people try and dry Jan, like especially if someone is quite an avid drinker, like they like a drink every other night during the week and stuff. Like make a note, like first try it properly, like actually really try dry Jan properly. Don't just do it, be like, oh, I'll get through this month, it'll make me feel better. Like really try it properly and make a note kind of how you feel and if it really does, because
note the positives.
Yeah,
obviously the negative, you miss out on that social aspect of going out, but note the positives of how you feel. Like journal it down and write down how good you feel, what extra stuff you've done.
Because we know a lot of people that I know lots of people that do dry Jan and they'll be out on the 31st of January.
It's like New Year's Eve.
Counting down the day and then having the drink at midnight. It's just I don't really think that's the way. I think
is that danger bouncing back too hard in Feb?
I think the whole point should be to explore how good you feel actually reducing your alcohol. It shouldn't be a challenge to then just go back and get pissed and rebound from that. I think it should be like, okay, how much better is my quality of life if I drink? And, I don't think that most people should be saying, I'm never drinking ever again, because you miss out on like certain social aspects that you might really like. But I think it's just thinking, okay, would my quality of life, would my mental health be better if I reduce my drinking down ever so slightly? Would my performance in the gym, which for a lot of people, or performance at the sport matters, it really matters to people. And maybe reducing the alcohol down would really help that. So what from what we know is like you have a drink, your testosterone levels acutely drop, your cortisol levels spike, which is like an increase in stress to the body. You increase in blood pressure, your sleep goes bad. So it's that short term, everything is horrific. So when you have a drink once in a thingy, short term, everything goes to shit. If it's continually happening, you continue having that drop in testosterone, you're having that spike in cortisol, it's terrible for you. Really, really terrible. And the poison is in the dosage. If you're getting pissed 2-3 times a week, it's super tough to recover from that. It's a couple of drinks here and there. It's not a big deal. It's nice to relax. It's nice to have a glass of you like a glass of red wine, didn't you, Mark?
I do. Yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah. So was it Chateau Neuf de Pape that you were on about?
Yes, it was. Yeah, one's too. You were thinking of stopping drinking a while ago, was it?
It was actually you that taught me out of that. Yeah, because for this reason, like
you're talking about
no, he said that. He said if I'm going down, you're coming with me.
Yeah.
No, I was like, I'm thinking of giving up alcohol altogether. And it was actually 2019, I think it was. And it was the year, but there was like John Stag do. There's a few other things. I was like, I'm thinking of giving up alcohol. And then Mark's like, well, I don't think you have to make such an extreme decision. Like, if you want to enjoy the social aspects and you don't want to miss out on going to John's stag and having a good time, and you don't want to have a drink on your brother's 30th, do all those nice things, but you don't have to get pissed every single.
Yeah.
I don't drink a lot, but like, let's say once a month. But at one point when I was single, I was going out every week, and I just weren't enjoying it. I was spending a lot of money. I was just hungover. My Sundays had gone to shit, and you only get a couple of days off a week. My Sundays went to shit. And I was like, I need to change something here. But I don't think the answer, which I don't think for most people, is that extreme. Say I'm never drinking, but just I made a conscious effort then to really reduce it down. So yeah,
and you do it like. We're not advocating to complete like to only have 2 or 3 drinks. Like some of the best memories I have when I'm absolutely battered on a night out is, as you're saying, just picking and choosing which ones to go for. Like if you know a lot of your pals are coming on a social event and you want to go hard and you know that you can kind of chill on the Sunday, like go for it. We're not saying don't get absolutely smacked.
No, so do what you want.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Just be aware of the consequences, the knock-on effects, the positives, the negatives.
Don't expect your training to sort of be at peak level if you still are going out every weekend or every sort of.
You look at, like I said, man, the mental health benefits of like cutting down your alcohol though. Like your training is better, so that makes you feel good. Your productivity on that Sunday and your enjoyment outside of work and the gym is so much higher. You just everything is it's the butterfly effect. Absolutely.
Yes.
Mate, I mean, when you have that spike in cortisol the day after, like I know a lot of people that like feel anxious and feel like it's horrible. I get upset when I'm hungover.
Do you?
I feel really.
Cry?
I'm not quite a cry, but I'm like, what? I'm like, what am I doing? I walked to the shop. I remember I walked to a co-op and I was hungover. I come up, probably snobs again, and I bumped into. I bumped into a couple of friends. Yeah, I was there. Well, I was 27.
Oh, you were 27.
We told that I seen a couple of people. I was hungover. I was going to buy a pizza at car, and I was like, what am I doing again? It really gets to me when I'm hungover. The next day I'm sad. I had a great time, but like the day after,
pizza on your stomach, sat watching the football, like, it's not a nice place to be.
But I think so if you do cut down on the alcohol, like your gym work is obviously going to be better. Your mental health is going to be a bit better. Your productivity is going to be a little bit better. You're not going to have those acute drops that we try and avoid. The testosterone drop of 20%. It's not a long-term thing, but that's big for the next day.
Yeah.
And when you talk about optimizing, like muscle protein synthesis is hindered. It's hard to, like, if anyone says if you drink this day after a session or the night of a session, apparently that's the worst thing you could do because it inhibits muscle protein synthesis that much. So if you were trying to optimize everything, you'd probably say cut back on the drinking, but we're all human. So I think it's picking and choosing when to do it. And then, damage limitations, if you can, the day after, just to not make it this massive effect where, takes you 3 weeks to get back to baseline after one big night out.
Yeah. And in respect to the dry Jan, I would say my personal opinion is that just moderation throughout the year is the preferable is the preferable choice. But if that's not happening, then whatever, like a dry Jan can be useful, I guess.
I think
it's a bit daft, but like it can be useful.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times these things are like tools to then achieve something further down the line. It's a bit like, I don't like the idea.
It's a punchline. It's a gimmick. It's a something, like it's a headline, isn't it?
I personally, like, respectfully, I think it's a bit like if you want to cut down on Instagram, and it's like, it's hard to cut down on Instagram to begin with, and you set a timer on there, and you're like, well, should I really need a timer to stop me going on my phone? But it's a tool to stop you doing that. And I think sometimes you need a tool to stop you drinking more. Yeah. So for some people, like, fair enough for us, we're not massive drinkers. But if we're like, let's say we were working in recruitment, and every time we have to go out and get pissed because we're trying to get clients, if you've then got dry January, it's a tool to stop you drinking. And then it's a tool to then say, actually, I'm not going to drink as much now. And I'm going to cut back here. I think it can be a really good thing to stop future things.
Then on the other side, I think I completely agree with you that it is a tool for that kind of person. But then there is the other kind of person that I think the dry Jan is kind of seen and like the Instagram
like
stuff.
a challenge.
Yeah, it's like a challenge. And then they think often that I can get,
for sure.
I get really pissed. Just like the Instagram stuff. I know loads of people that have timers and stuff, but it's like, they'll do the hour and then they'll go, oh, nah, take it off. And it's just sort of, it's kind of like an excuse in their head to make them feel better. So I think there's definitely both sides of the argument for it. And there is probably a lot more good that comes out of it than bad, I would say.
Well, it's just two sides of the coin, isn't it? Like, I'm not disagreeing with Mark, he's disagreeing with me. I can see it as like a thing that people can benefit of. And if it's like, if you want to dip your toe into the sober life, it's the perfect time to do it. And then, decide from there what you want to do.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the
That's a
benefit.
lesson for today. See both sides of the story.
See both sides of the story.
Have an opinion.
Yes.
I respect your opinion. You respect mine.
And erections are better when you're a vegan.
We have tofu tacos.
8,000% better.
Yes. 8,000. Yeah, no exaggeration.
Yeah, so dry Jan, avoid your decreases in T levels, avoid the cortisol spikes, keep your training and your productivity high. You're going to reap a lot of.
And a vegan, you'd be a monster, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You're going to have the. I mean, I can't go in erection if I've had a drink. So if you're vegan and have no drink, you're. Yeah, I might be getting the call from. Did you see Zoo Culture in they've got a porn star to open their gym?
Have they?
Yeah, it's carnage.
No way.
I don't get it. Loads of people have backlashed against it. They're like, dude, it's a gym. I wanted to bring my kids. And then it's like Mark opening MSC 2.0 and he's invited his favorite
Actress.
favorite actress or actor
Or actor.
or performer.
Could be
Gender neutral.
Johnny Sins. Could be Johnny Sins bring MSC to Johnny Sins.
That'd be right.
You don't know who Johnny Sins is?
He's a firefighter. Oh no, he's a policeman in it. No, he's a doctor in it.
Doctor.
Military man, isn't he?
Yeah. All fake tax. Yeah, God.
Right, unfortunately, we've ended on a low. But so there's a lot of hopefully that's given you some good insight into the benefits of Veganuary and also the benefits of reducing your alcohol intake. And hopefully that's answered some of the questions you've got. But if there are any others, as always, you can let us know via the comment section or drop us a private message and we'll be happy to help you further. Max, Mark, anything you want to add to finish?
No, I thought that was lovely. I really enjoyed the podcast and looking forward to the next one. Welcome back to all our members and happy January. Let's make 2023 a good one.
A little bit of deja vu, but yeah, really enjoyed this podcast. Yeah.
If I'm going to say it now, if this hasn't worked, I'm not doing it again.
No, this is the last time.
Thank you for listening, guys, and we will see you at the next one.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Just say no space there, Mark. That's one thing.